Hello and welcome back. I am DarcyBits. We are using Urza's artificial intelligence to make a brand new magic set. And not just a set, but a block. We just finished forging all of the cards in Gods of Winter, the first set of our 3-block set, based off of Theros block. And now we're moving into our second. So previously we were using Theros Beyond Death, and now we are using the second set in that block. But Journey, no, Journey into Nyx is the last one. I actually don't know what it is. This is not a bit. What the heck is that one called? Born of the Gods. I think that's right. This is stupid. Cut this. Born of the Gods, and Born of the Gods, and as I have discovered, the second and third sets in a block are kind of more like expansion packs in that they have a lot less cards. So this will not be as big and as time-consuming as Gods of Winter was. But we're moving into this next set, about 100 less cards, something like that. What we're using for today's set is Lords of the Rime, Soldiers of Core, and Dragons. Bit of a wordy name, but we wanted to make sure we're hitting a few key components, because that was the initial premise of doing a block, is that I wanted to be able to take elements from the first set and incorporate them or expand on them in the next block. That's, I believe, kind of the point. So the elements that I am most connected with are, first, the core soldiers. As we see here, the Hanatang Commander has the ability Core Power, which says whenever Hanatang Commander or another core soldier enters the battlefield under your control, creatures you control gain first strike until end of turn. Now, if that's not telegraphing that that's going to be a more prominent mechanic in the next set, I don't know what is. Now, of course, we're probably not going to see Core Power. That would be amazing if we saw Core Power with the same ability. Even if it didn't have the same ability, even if it just said, like, whenever a core soldier enters the battlefield, right? Like, that's usually how ability words work. They're, like, the same beginning, like landfall, but the effect could be whatever. So, that would be amazing, but not expected. Either way, I wanted to see some core soldiers so that if you opened this when you were playing the, when the first set came out and then you got the expansion, you'd be like, hey, cool, all my core soldiers now more relevant. Isn't that great? And of course, as you might be seeing on screen, the flavor text is Lords of the Rime. Lords of the Rime. We should not go gentle into that good night. Hana, Empress of Core. So this, of course, is the name of our set, Lords of the Rime. Now, a couple of notes that I want to jump into before we get started. First is that this is one of only 2 references to the core that we see in the set. If we just take a look, I believe... Does this work? Haha! Yeah, that works. Great. Wind Rider of Erois has the flavor text, if you live by your faith, the road is paved with gold. Jadar of the tribe of Core. These are the only 2 references to Core in Gods of Winter. So, I want to see where that goes. Hopefully, even though it says Core in the deck name, it's not going to be too prominent in the non-white colors, but we'll see where it goes, and that's okay. Core are generally a white creature type, but I don't know if that's exclusive or not. Interesting to see where that goes. The other part of the name is dragons, right? So there's a few reasons for that. First card that we saw that cared about dragons is the, I believe, Dragon's Overseer. There it is. The Dragon's Overseer was a white card. It's a giant that says... Well, that just is named Dragon's Overseer. When a monstrous creature's offense is diminished, its attack is also diminished by half. And what we sort of saw here is that, first of all, I guess I should be clear, dragons are mentioned a couple times in Gods of Winter, but we never see one. There are no dragons in that set. There are dinosaurs, but no dragons. And I think that's really interesting. It makes me think that dragons are somewhere, they're just not present. Here we see a giant that's presumably working for dragons, which is a really cool idea. I like that as a flavor point. That's a really cool idea for what giants do. They serve dragons. They make sense. So here we see the Overseer, but we don't actually see any dragons. The other card that is mentioning dragons, and not just mentioning, but actually is relevant that there are dragons, is Alexa the Dragon Speaker. So not only are they mentioning dragons, they have the ability at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control a dragon, draw a card. His powers allow him to conjure ice and snow from the heavens, and to tear the winter veil to reveal a battle lost and a world still torn. What that exactly means, I'm not 100% sure, but I do like this evocative idea of, like, something is going on. There's this, Gods of Winter, there's sort of this permanent ice and snow thing happening, but maybe the dragons can pierce through that. The gods have brought ice and snow from the heavens, but maybe we can tear through that winter veil. So, those are the two things that I wanted to really focus on. I also considered bringing in werewolves. There is a card from Gods of Winter that talks about the same sort of idea. Like, whenever you have if you have a werewolf, I don't remember the exact card. I should have brought it up before we started streaming. I forgot to. Oh well. The point is I didn't use that card because it's just going to make me have to reroll more cards, right? Most werewolves that the AI makes have transform, right? They want to transform into their werewolf version, right? That is very, very common with werewolves, and therefore, if I put werewolf in the deck name, I'm very confident I would just have to reroll transforming werewolves, because we just can't do anything with that. It's cool seeing the AI come up with the front half of a werewolf, but since we can't make the back half, it's not very useful for our purposes. That's all. With all that said, we are ready to actually start making these cards. And I've done something a little bit different this time. This is our JSON file that we've made up. It does use the mana costs from Board of the Gods, and it does use the card types, just like with Gods of Winter, but I have already rolled all of the cards. I haven't looked at them, I've just, told the AI to generate the cards, which will save us a little bit of time until we have to reroll. It just seemed like a reasonable thing to do. Also, I was already kind of rolling cards to sort of see. I tried a bunch of different deck names before settling on this one. So a couple of the cards I've read and went, oh, that's actually pretty cool. And just, it seemed like, why not leave them? So that is what I've done. I don't remember them. I haven't read the majority. I've read like 5. Yeah, we're going to jump right into it. So that is what's happening. That is why when I scroll down, you will see that the card's already done. It's not going to spin into frame like we usually see. And of course, if I have to re-roll it, then we will see that happen. All that said, as usual, I don't have firm rules for what I'm re-rolling. We're going to play it by ear. Have a good time. So let's get started. Once again, we're doing this in color order. So for our white cards, Burst of Flame is a 2-mana white instant. Burst of Flame deals 3 damage to any target. All for 1 and 1 for all. Lin Tiana, Firemaw, Warder. Oh, that's kind of cool. And I don't have a lot to say about this. It is statted fine. It's not super interesting. It's also not what you would expect from white, but I mean, if you're trying to be strict about the AI sticking to the color pie, you're gonna just be wasting a lot of your own time. So I wouldn't bother with it. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Let's, yeah. I see no reason to dawdle. This is actually really cool, being able to sort of spin through the cards a bit faster since they're already rolled. Luminous Dragon. Okay, we got ourselves some dragons. The deck name worked. 4 mana for a 2/3 dragon with flying. When Luminous Dragon enters the battlefield, draw a card. Cool. I don't know if this is statted well, but it's the kind of effect that you see all the time. Just here's a flyer, enters, draw a card. I do believe there's plenty of cards that have this sort of effect. I could bring up the exact like stat lines of other cards that have the same ability and mana cost, but I think this card is fine. It's probably not pushed, and that's okay. It glows at the merest hint of daylight, heralding the rise of Wrath's kin. Ooh, interesting. Captain of the Rime. I will remind us, because I only mentioned it one time, the name of the set is Lords of the Rime, which came from that one card's flavor text. Captain of the Rime is a 2-mana, 2/2 creature human soldier. In its first strike, Captain of the Rime attacks each combat if able. That's cool, actually. I don't know if a 2-mana, 2/2 with first strike with no drawback would be printed. Maybe, maybe not. But so I don't know if it needs the drawback, but it does feel kind of cool. It means that you're really only getting first strike when you attack, since you're not going to be blocking unless you have some way of untapping it. Yeah, no, I liked it a lot. He could be the world's last champion, but if he isn't the last hope. What? He could be the world's last champion, but if he isn't the last hope. I don't actually follow the grammar on that, but that's okay. Wingmates of Kor. It's a 3-mana enchantment creature, Kor Soldier. So we got ourselves our Kor Soldier. Nice, very good. It's a 3-mana 2/2 with flying. Wingmaster of Kor can block only creatures with flying. Cool. I don't think it really needs a drawback at 3 mana for a 2/2, but that's okay. I don't think it's a big deal. I think that, you know, it's going to fill into the common slot. It's going to activate anything else that cares about Kor Soldiers. Nice. I think it works. They fly without rest and without... Oh, and with purpose. Okay, I was like, wait a minute. Without purpose? No, it did. With purpose. Great. Without rest and with purpose. Surok, Breaker of Glass is a 3-mana, 3/3 legendary creature. Kor Soldier. Is legendary creature one word? Did I mess up? So when you actually copy the set data from Scryfall, which is what I do when I make these JSON files, it just has legendary as abbreviated to like LGD dot or something. So I had that changed to legendary. I might have forgotten to put a space in there. That feels bad. I don't like that. I think I'll allow it, but I don't like it. I feel bad about it. That's just sloppy. But oh well, let's see what they do. When Surok, Breaker of Glass, or another non-creature permanent, okay, non-creature permanent enters the battlefield under your control, destroy all other non-artifact permanents. That's 100% getting re-rolled. What? When it enters the battlefield, destroy all other non-artifact permanents. So that's land destruction and a wrath. Okay. And then when another non-creature permanent enters the battlefield, so like all of your lands. This is stupid. Do I want to go and fix the text here? I think I might. Okay, so I've gone back to the JSON and edited in a space for all the legendary. Hopefully all the legendaries. Maybe not. If there's like an legendary artifact in this set, I probably would have missed it. Because all the legendary creatures and all the legendary enchantment creatures. I guess if there's an artifact, I might have missed it. Anyway, we'll get to that when we get there. What that means is that as we continue down, we might see legendaries with that typo, and well, if they need to be re-rolled, it'll fix the typo, and if they don't need to be re-rolled, then it won't, I guess. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, Sork Breaker Glass needs to get re-rolled. That's too much even for me. Eminence Sutcliffe, Elite Trooper. No longer a core soldier. Oh well. They're a 3-mana 3/3 human soldier. When Eminence Sutcliffe, Elite Trooper, enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each other soldier you control. Okay, nice. Whenever another soldier you control dies, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. Oh! Holy crap. Alright, so enters the battlefield. All of your soldiers, except for itself, gets a 1/1 counter. Then, when those soldiers die, they get replaced by 1/1s. Those 1/1s don't get +1/+1 counters. It's not when a soldier enters the battlefield, it's when Sutcliffe enters. And then, when those tokens die, they're still soldiers, so they'll make another 1/1. So as long as this guy's on the battlefield, all your soldiers is going to continue to get replaced by 1/1s, including those 1/1s. It's not unbeatable. Yeah. It's very strong, and so is the set, so that's fine. That boy's so dead, if he had half a head, I'd lose my hat. Sengir Valka, Sultai Ogre Lieutenant. There's a lot of words they crammed into that name there. Sengir Valka, Sultai Ogre Lieutenant. Nice. Alright, let's keep going. No, that card's rad. I feel like I should talk about it more, but yeah, it's really good. Release the Beast is a 4-mana sorcery. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Okay. It can also cycle for a generic and a white. Discard it, draw a card. Great. When you cycle Release the Beast, you may have it pay for 2. So, I don't think this is an actual ability. If this is a printed effect that has precedent, I would love to know about this. But what this should say, I think, is just like, you know, you gain generic, right? Because that's how I would interpret this. Is like, when you cycle it, you can pay for something. As in the same way that, like, tapping a land pays for something, right? It's not, like, there's no precedent for this. That's not the proper wording if that was what they wanted to do. But it's a cool idea. It's like, you have to pay 2. It's kind of like pay 0 as long as you have something to spend that mana on. That's kind of an interesting idea. Anyway. The few citizens who escaped found the surviving beasts quickly tearing through the survivors' last defenses. Yeah, ignoring the last line, a sorcery speed bounce that can hit creatures, or you could cycle for 2, I think is probably pretty bad. Not horrible. Like, I think I'd probably run it in limited, but yeah. With the last line, it just doesn't function. So we don't have to worry about it at all. Planar Ingress is a 4-mana sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, exile a creature card from your graveyard. Okay. Search your library for a card with the same name as that creature card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. That is such a cool effect. I don't know if it's good or not, but I really like the concept. Draw a second copy of something that is in your graveyard. But for 4 mana at sorcery speed, I think it's probably not good enough. Either way, it's a really cool effect. I wonder if there's precedent for that. The good people of the Infernal Bridge will fight to the last bloodied mage. I'm going to reroll this one. Revive, A 4-mana sorcery. You gain 4 life. Okay. Exile Revive from your graveyard. I'm not sure if that's the proper wording, but maybe it is? I'm going to assume that's the proper wording. Let's pretend that's correct. Return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. Doesn't matter. Okay, cool. I mean, alright, sure. Doesn't matter that whether or not that is properly worded. I think it is properly worded, but yeah, it's a sorcery. It can't be returned to the battlefield. If it did, so if you printed this card, right? If you printed this card, what it would mean, according to the current rules, I think, is when it's in the graveyard, you may choose to exile it as an activated, like as a cost, as an activated ability. Once exiled, it will return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step, which means the next end step, it will try to go to the battlefield and fail because it's a sorcery and go directly into your graveyard. So if you had something that cared about, like, something leaving the graveyard and entering the graveyard, I think it would trigger those effects, but do basically nothing else. As much as his mortality appalled him, and the same as his mortality brought him, Ulrich enjoyed the blessing of life, though it was born of his deaths. Watchful Reckoning is a 4-mana sorcery. Target player draws X cards, and you draw X cards. It doesn't ever define X, though. Rebound, if you cast this spell from your hand, exile it as it resolves. At the beginning of your next upkeep, you may cast this card from exile without paying its mana cost. If this had defined X, this card is terrifying because you target yourself, and then so you're drawing X times 2, right? It's target player, not target opponent. Wild, but X is not defined. We don't know what X is. The outcome is inevitable. Kiran Nalar. Okay, we're stuck in the sorcery mines. Welcome to Dominaria. Is that where we are? How did we get to Dominaria? 4-mana sorcery, destroy target creature or enchantment, draw a card. I mean, that's reasonable. Yeah. It's a sorcery speed, overpriced kill, but it draws you a card. I just don't know if I want a card called Welcome to Dominaria. Thank you for the great journey now. It's time to move on. Kavus Nut? Kavuzgnut? I don't know. Welcome to Dominaria. Did we pierce through the veil of winter and Dominaria was on the other side? And then they killed us? I'm gonna leave it, but I don't feel good about it. Seeker of the Way is a 3-mana 2/2 enchantment creature Archon. Ooh. It has protection from black. Okay. Creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. Cool. Alright. Yeah. Cool, so it's a 3-mana 2/2 that really slows down your opponent's board. A very scary effect. And it's a little bit protected from removal, I guess, because black has the most removal. I don't know. Yeah. He who stands with arms raised and open is at peace. He who strikes without mercy will soon find his eyes full of blood. Kolvaxar. I'll allow it. No, I think it's a pretty solid card, honestly. Like, I know I rag on protection from color a lot, but if you ignore that line, I think it's a fine card. If you gave this thing like flat out hexproof or something, I think it would probably be too strong. The idea that like you're exceptionally strong in the using this against black is weird. Like, I don't know why you have that extra defense against black, but the thing that's probably going to hurt the most from this card is something like red, probably, that wants to, like, play its hasty boys, you know, and they can't. So the fact that, like, the thing you're protected from is not what you're scared most of feels kind of okay. I don't know. Weird. Swords to Plowshares? Wait a minute. Oh, it's a soldier. Swords to Plowshares is a 3-mana 2/2 human soldier with first strike. You can tap Swords to Plowshares to deal 1 damage to any target. You know, if the tap ability was like a heal, this would have been really funny. Where it's like, this is the soldier who is the Swords to Plowshares, right? And yeah, they're still a soldier technically, but they also are going to, like, work the field and get you that life. Which I assume is what the life gain from the actual Swords to Plowshares card is. If you don't play much Magic, because I know a number of people who watch my videos don't actually play Magic, Swords to Plowshares is like a white, like, instant speed removal spell that's very cheap and exiles instead of just destroying. So it's quite valuable, but the downside is that the owner of the creature that you exiled, or the controller, gains life when you do that. So you sort of are sending their creature away to go work at the fields instead, which is great flavor. I think I'm fine with this card. It's not, like, super interesting, but it's, yeah. I mean, previously we saw a 2-mana 2/2 with first strike and had to attack every turn. Now we're seeing a 3-mana 2/2 with first strike. So it's a little bit more expensive, but doesn't have to attack every turn. And it has the upside that you could tap it to ping something if actually attacking or defending isn't going to get the job done. It's pretty cool. In moments of utmost desperation, it's important to strike quickly and move on. It would also be a really solid blocker. Like, this kind of could block like a 3/2 with first strike. Right? If they attack you with like a 3/3, and you say, I block with Swords to Plowshares, then I tap them before damage, pinging your 3/2, so it's only got 2 remaining toughness. My first strike of 2 kills it before I take damage, so it ends up blocking like a 3/2. No, I like this card. This card's really cool. Bounty of Corruption is a 1-mana white enchantment aura. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has, for generic and white, the next time a source of your choice would deal damage to enchanted creature this turn, that creature is dealt... that damage is dealt to target creature you control instead. I think the wording on this is wrong. Right, because the enchanted creature has the next time a source of your choice would deal damage to enchanted creature. I believe the wording of that is that the enchanted creature in that sentence would be the creature that the card who has this ability is enchanting. Yeah, it should be worded something like, the enchanted creature gets generic and white the next time a source of your choice would deal damage to this creature this turn. That damage is dealt to target creature you control instead. I'm really tempted to allow this just because, like, it's very clear what it's trying to do, and I think it's a pretty cool effect. It's probably too good, actually. It's already just a 1-mana give something +2/+2, if I think about it. Plus it's got defense. It's not flat-out defense. It blocks 1 damage, but that damage goes to another one of your creatures. But usually that's fine, because damage goes away at the end of the turn, right? It's not like another game where you'd mark damage permanently. Corruption has always been in Core's blood. I think I will re-roll this. It's a cool card. Very cool design. Inspiring Leader is a 1-mana enchantment aura. That's a cool name for that. Just like the idea, like, you have dubbed this creature as an inspiring leader in addition to whatever else it is. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from red and from green. Well, it got worse. It's still a 1 mana, give something +2/+2, but on top of that, it also has protection from red and green. Cool. The troops move with their charge, 1 foot at a time, like animals led to the slaughter. I actually don't know, like, what 1 mana enchantment aura should go for. Like how much, or I guess what +2/+2 in an enchantment aura should go for. Probably 1 mana is fine, but I don't know. Warmonger's Demand is a 1 mana enchantment. Whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, you may pay white. If you do, create a 2/2 white soldier creature token with lifelink. This card is rad. Holy crap. Is this... Wow. Ooh. So there's a lot of these effects in Magic that are like, if you attack me, there's going to be some drawback, right? The one I think of the most is sort of like, it's a little bit different, but it's like to attack with something, you have to pay mana. And it's per creature that's attacking. So if your opponent can't pay for all their creatures, they can't attack you. But if they have like one big thing that wants to smash face, right? They're just like, I'm going to attack you with this 8/8 with trample. You're going to get a single 2/2. They don't care about that. So yeah, no, it really protects you against specific boards. And of course you have to pay 1 for each creature, but it's a very good rate for a 2/2 with lifelink. This card's rad. I like this card a lot. Warmonger's Demand. Yeah, that's great. That fool down there in the village. The fool who calls himself a lord. Care of Flames. Yeah, let's go. That fool who calls himself a lord. Bind the Minds of Men is a 4 mana white sorcery. You gain 3 life. Choose target creature you control. Its controller gains 3 life. So this is 4 mana, gain 3 life, sorcery speed. If you control a creature, because you have no reason to not, that you are allowed to target, I guess. Like if your creatures all had Shroud, then you wouldn't be able to target them. If you control a creature that you can target with this spell, then you gain an additional 3 life. Or maybe you... I'm not sure if this is one of those types of effects that you can't cast unless you control a creature. I'm not 100% sure how that works. I know there are some cards that are like, oh, there's no valid target, you're not even allowed to cast it, right? I'm not sure. So if this is just 4 mana, gain 6 life, I think that's bad. I don't really know the going rate for life gain, but I think that's bad. Many have sailed to Drummond. Few returned. We welcomed the lost souls as honored guests. Koloth, High Priest of Talos. You know, I think I'm going to keep this one. It's probably like a bad card, but it's the kind of card that it does facilitate a specific goal, right? As we've seen in Gods of Winter. That's what's really cool about this, is that we can sort of like build off of what we've already seen in Gods of Winter. And we know that life gain is an actual deck, right? Or I don't know if it's a deck or not. Like I haven't built decks with the cards to see what would be like meta, if you will. But there's life gain payoff. There's a lot of things that activate life gain. This isn't just gain 6 life. This is gain 3 life twice, which means it would trigger all those life gain effects 2 times. If this was instant, it would certainly be a lot better because you could leave open your 4 mana to do something, and then if you don't need it, you could spend that mana on this card instead. Instead, I think this card is bad, but does help a specific game plan, which maybe is worth it in, like, limited or something. Yeah, I'm going to leave it. Going to leave it. Brawling Blitz is a 7 mana white instant. There's a 7 mana instant in Born of the Gods. Brawling Blitz deals 4 damage to any target. Okay. If you control a dragon or a planeswalker, Brawling Blitz deals 4 damage to another target instead? Wait, that's not helpful. Dang it. Even if this, like, just said, like, deal 4 damage to 2 different targets, I don't think that's good enough for 7 mana. But it doesn't even say that. It deals 4 damage to another target instead. There's no room for excess when fighting a war. Alright. Try again. Toon Orb. Toon Orb is a 7 mana white instant. Toon Orb deals damage to any target equal to twice the number of tapped creatures you control. That is actually really cool. It's so expensive, but, like, if you have a huge token board of, I don't know, like, 1/1 soldiers or something, and you attack with them, you hit face with all of your 1/1s, it's like, I don't know, 6 or 7, let's say. They all hit, they do their damage, then you cast Toon Orb, and you then deal an additional, like, 14 damage. Like, that's lethal. You know? Okay. It's very expensive just for burn, but it's a cool type of burn that I think white would like. Right? Where it's like, I've got all these bodies that I've made. I've got the, like, you know, all these soldier tokens. I'm going to do damage equal to twice that number. And if you need to, you can use it to destroy, like, a creature that's in your way. But for 7 mana, I'm going to keep it, but for 7 mana? Wow. So yeah, this is not great for the mana cost, but it'll win you some games. Like, hey, why not? Did I read the text? I don't think I did. If you feel we are not on the right path, turn back. We'll catch up. Oribos, son of Alarak. Nice. Yeah, I'm going to allow it. I don't know. Honestly, like, it's one of those things where if I re-rolled that, I would almost definitely get a less, like, an even weaker card. Just really high mana value, the AI is not great at. If you want a broken card, you want to make, like, a 1 mana card. Order of the Sacred Scars is a 3 mana, 2/3 enchantment creature human cleric. At the beginning of your end step, you gain X life and draw X cards, where X is the number of opponents you have lost this turn. Dang it! Would this function in, like, Commander? Like, if you kill your opponent, does that mean you lost an opponent? But the game's still going because there's more opponents left, and then you get to draw some cards. That's so stupid. The oldest secrets lie within the depths of the Elder Dragons. We need to see more core soldiers. I think we saw like 2, but 1 got rerolled. Like, where are core soldiers? Come on. Core Market Authority. I was really looking. I thought that might have worked. It didn't. It's a Phyrexian dragon. We need to see dragons too, so it's not horrible. 3 mana, 3/3 white enchantment creature, Phyrexian dragon. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Okay. Yeah, this is fine. The Core Market Authority. What does this mean? When one of the lords wanted a closer look at the sinister portal, his slaves took him through it. The lord in question's throat was the first to suffer. I need to put together what is going on here. The Core Market Authority is a Phyrexian dragon. So first of all, Phyrexia has got to the dragons. Maybe that has something to do with where they have been, and why they weren't in the first set. There's also some sort of implication that presumably, like, the core market authority was previously just a dragon, and now it's been Phyrexianed, I guess. It can't fly anymore, because Phyrexian's weighing it down. I don't know, that doesn't make sense. Anyway. Weird. I'm very interested in this and what it implies, but I am bad at figuring that out. So let's move on. I like it. It's good. Skyward Rallies is, X and a white for an instant. Choose X. Target creature gains flying until end of turns. You gain X life. Okay, I do like the idea of a choose X card. That should be a thing. If it's not, I guess that kind of is a thing, isn't it? There's that one card from, like, Strixhaven, I think, where it's like, I think it's an X card, but it's like, if X is 2, then do this, and X is 3, then do this, and if X is 4, do this, and then X is 5, do all of them, something like that. So that's kind of like that, but the idea of, like, a choose, like, has, like, 4 modes, and then choose X, so you can cast it to get 1 mode, or 2, or 3, or 4, yeah. This doesn't work, obviously, but that idea sounds cool. Fly like the wind. Your movements are choreographed by some primal power, guided by nothing but a twisting of your shoulders and a strong desire to see what's on the other side of the mountain. Jari, High Mountain Tauren Kender. Well, don't need to worry about what that means. Dominate. X and white for an instant, destroy target creature. Nope. One of my rules is that X cards need to use the X. Also, this is a 1 mana kill spell, instant speed in white. But ignoring that part. Look, here's my chalice. What do you think? Vasily Head Seer. I think it's done rendering. Yeah. Yeah. Embodiments Liberators. X and white for an instant. X target creature. I'm going to allow that. X target creatures you control gain protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. That creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, which means it can block creatures with flying. Okay, so ignoring the reminder text, this is interesting. For 2 mana, one target creature you control gains protection from a color of your choice until end of turn, and gets +1/+1. Okay. But if you increase the X, then you're able to affect multiple targets, and the buff gets bigger. It's a cool design. I don't know what the cost should be to make it a balanced design, but it's cool. I feel like I might get comments about this, so I'm going to say this. Like, as much as I rag on protection from color, I like this style of it, because you are making the decision about what color to protect yourself from in the game. You're not making the decision during deck building, right? When you don't know who you're playing against. And I have mentioned before as well that it is sort of useful in a sideboarding situation, but I've never really played sideboarding, so I don't really know the impact of that. But I do acknowledge that is a thing. It's just not something I have experience with. Anyway, cool card. It also says it can block creatures with flying, which is not true. I'm going to reroll this. I know there are some instances in Gods of Winter where the reminder text does not match the card text, and we've allowed those. We've allowed those because I made a mistake, not because I want that as a blanket rule. So I think I will reroll this. Which is a shame, because it's probably going to be our best X card we'll see, because X cards are really hard on the AI. It does not know what to do with those. You have chosen to join us. Sipharon. Mardu Champion. X and white for an instant. Mardu Champion deals X damage to target creature, and you gain X life. Also, this card has lifelink. Is that appropriate? I don't know whether or not a non-creature can have lifelink or not. Like, it makes sense. It makes 100% sense for a non-creature, like, burn spell to have lifelink. I just don't know if it's technically supported by the rules of the game, that's all. When a hound smells blood, the hunger drives it to the hunt. It won't wait to feast on the day's kill, but at least it won't have to kill a second one. The flavor of this is a mess. But yeah, so for 2 mana, this is 1 damage to a target creature, gain 1 life, and gain additional life from lifelink, right? Assuming we are okay with that ruling. And like 100% of players would read this card and just go, oh yeah, it's got lifelink. When it deals damage, it heals you. Like, I know what that does. So I'm not concerned with that, even though I think that it's technically maybe not supported by the rules, but whatever. It's like in... I think it was Unsanctioned, maybe? I don't remember exactly which. One of the unsets had a card, which was a burn spell that said trample, right? And I remember specifically, I've heard Mark Rosewater talk about how the rules of the game do not support that. Like, that's just not what the keyword trample means. You can't put trample on a burn spell. Now, since then, they have printed spells that deal damage to creatures and deal excess damage to the creature's controller, but it's not keyworded. It's just, it's long text. I don't really know why that's different, but the point is, in the unset, everyone knew what that meant. No one needed rules clarification, right? It's such an intuitive thing in the game. Anyway. So I don't have really a problem with this. Other than, yeah. I don't know enough about Mardu either. Mardu is like one of those, like, it's one of the... It's either a Shard or a Khans of Tarkir faction. I don't know. I don't know what Mardu is. Anyway, yeah, so 2 mana, deal 1, heal another 1. Again, what we're talking about before about how it would have multiple procs for things that care about life gain. If you spend 4 mana, you're doing 3 damage and healing 3, and then healing 3. Yeah, cool. I'm gonna allow. Let's move on. Need to not belabor the point too much. Boros Ronin is a 2 mana, 2/2 human knight. Where are my core? I want some core soldiers. Come on. When Boros Ronin dies, target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Huh. That's interesting. So it's a 2 mana, 2/2. Great. And it has an upside, except for the upside is when it dies. This would be relevant if, like, it was blocking something with First Strike, and it would die during combat and then buff another thing in combat before that damage went through. But that's very specific. Or I guess you could sacrifice it. Like, it would be an interesting sacrifice target. Not a super exciting sacrifice target, but that's interesting. It's just like, yeah, the timing window of when it dies and then buffing something is awkward. I think I'll allow it, though. Like, it's a decent, like, just human, like, not human. I mean, I guess it is a human. If it was a soldier, it'd be better, because then it would trigger all our... Yeah, if this was a core soldier, it'd be great. I don't know. Boros would have struck if only he had the nerve to aim at my head. You know what? I think I will reroll it. It doesn't need to be rerolled, but we're all here to see cool cards, right? Why not another one? We can see another card. That's the point of this. Ooh, Frenzied Pit Fighter is a 2 mana human soldier. Okay, not a core, but it is soldier, and soldiers matter. It's a star. Frenzied Pit Fighters' power and toughness are each equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Cool. All right. That's like a well-known effect that exists in plenty of cards have that effect. I don't know what the going rate for those cards are. For all I know, this is very cheap for that effect, but it's not like it's in It's interesting as a white card. Like, there is graveyard stuff in white, but there's not a ton of, like, self-mill or anything. You'd probably be mostly getting those things in your graveyard naturally. So, cool. Now, this may seem funny, but watch how easily the little fighter shuffles away. Starin First Duke. Yeah, cool. I'll allow it. Let's move right along. Nightmare Sentinel is a 4-mana, 3/3 Spirit Knight. Ooh. We saw lots of spirits in the last set, but they seemed very, like, you know, enchantment, spirits, almost like elemental adjacent type things. This is like a knight. This spirit put on armor is gonna attack you. They're a 4-mana, 3/3 with vigilance. For generic and white, they have Monstrosity 1. If this creature isn't monstrous, put a 1/1 counter on it, and it becomes monstrous. They also have, for generic and white, have Monstrosity 2. If this creature isn't monstrous, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's creature-sized. So first thing I want to say is that the idea of a card having 2 different monstrosity abilities is really interesting, right? Because the idea of monstrous is that it happens once. It becomes monstrous for the rest of the game, right? You can't pay, like, generic and white, generic, and then just keep doing the monstrosity ability over and over again. It only gets that 1/1 counter once. But, if you had 2 abilities, so it's like generic and white to get Monstrosity 1, generic, white, or maybe it's a multicolor thing for Monstrosity 3 or 4, you might pay the Monstrosity 1 because you're not going to get to the Monstrosity 4 mana cost for it to be relevant, right? But if you do, you're never able to use the bigger Monstrosity. That's a cool design idea. I like that idea a lot. I don't know whether or not that's the thing that exists in Magic. In this case, instead of Monstrosity 2 giving you 2 1/1 counters like it should, it creates a token of itself, except that token is creature-sized, which doesn't mean anything. It is to the foe as it is to the dreamer. Let's move on. Let's try that one again. Not move on. Trying again. Whatever. Blackbriar Sentry is a 4-mana, 2/3 human knight. Okay, still a knight. It has protection from white. Okay. And for 3 mana, regenerate Blackbriar Sentry. I'm going to reroll this card. The archer often joins his riders on patrol, making sure they never get separated. That's nice. Core Soldier. Another human. There's too many humans in this set. There were humans in Gods of Winter, but... Blood Knight is a 4-mana, 3/2 human knight. It has vigilance. It also has tap. Blood Knight gets +1/+0 until end of turn. His weapon, a battle axe of terrible purpose, was driven deep into his torso. It remained there for 7 years, killing the creatures who crossed its path. I mean, this is why I think randomly AI generated flavor text is great for D&D prompts. That is cool. This card, this is an overpriced 3. I don't actually know what the going rate for vigilance is, so this might not be overpriced. A 4-mana 3/2 with vigilance might be printable. Tapping to give it +1/+0 until end of turn is relevant in that you have vigilance, right? So you could attack and then tap to be a 4/2. Or you could attack, not tapping yourself out so that when you can defend, you can be a 4/2. I'm just not that excited about it. And I want to see this turn into a cool Core Soldier. I'm being bad as designer, but I'm going to keep rolling this. I'm not a designer. I need to come up with a term for whatever I am. Curator. Roadside Rescuers is a 4-mana, 3/2 human soldier. There's a lot of humans. I mean, there's a lot of human soldiers in Magic, and I have soldier in the deck name, so I guess I can't be that surprised that I'm getting a lot of humans, but still. Roadside Rescuers can't be blocked by creatures with power 4 or greater. Cool. Okay. What could you be thinking of? Having them stand there while you finish cooking? What could you be thinking of having them stand there while you finish cooking? I'd be hard-pressed to leave a hot meal unspoiled. What? Shandi, deft-handed herbalist. Well, let's move on. Steadfast Champion is a 5-mana, 3/4 Spirit Soldier. Okay. It has Vigilance. Whenever Steadfast Champion or another creature you control dies, you gain 1 life and draw a card. I mean, that's quite good. It's pretty expensive to get online, so it's not going to be, like, completely busted, I don't think, but quite good. Especially in that, like, deck that cares about your soldiers, right? So when your soldiers die, make another soldier, and then that soldier, when it dies, make another soldier. So, like, yeah. If you had a sack outlet... Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, if you have a sacrifice outlet, you could just infinitely kill your soldiers. That's like... I guess it's like a 4-card combo, though, right? It's like the creature that makes the tokens, the soldier in the first place that you're sacrificing, this card, and your sacrifice outlet. I don't think that's too busted. I'm okay with that. No god can save you now. Yeah, cool. Sweet. Hierophant of Knowleridge is a 2-mana, 2/2 human soldier. Whenever you cast a spirit or arcane spell, okay, there's a decent number of spirits, at least there was in Gods of Winter, target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. Great. Unless you have a flash spirit, you're not going to be giving things protection instant speed, so you can't do that thing where you sort of pseudo counter a spell by making it no longer targetable. But you can, you know, cast a spirit, and then have a target, one of your creatures gain protection, and then it attacks, and it can't be blocked because it's protection, which protection meaning you can't block is stupid to me. I think it just shouldn't take damage, but whatever. Anyway... The blacksmith seeks out the mystical metal. If his will can contain the forces, he will become a hero. Zamir, the Soul Cutter. Ooh, the Soul Cutter. That's pretty good. Flanking Light is a 2-mana light instant. Prevent all combat damage that will be dealt by target attacking creature this turn. Huh! It's a single target fog. I guess. I'm pretty sure that this effect, like, I think fog effects aren't that expensive, so probably this is just mostly underwhelming, but I guess in a fringe situation you might prefer to not fog everything. I guess also, I think for fog is all combat damage, which means here you could block something and then prevent the damage of the... it kind of giving your stuff like pseudo first strike to kill it. I think that's right. Your Highness, you've met your match. Borka, Blessed Bishop of Duncannon. Borka's a good name. Hey, we got another Core Soldier. Okay. Core Field Marshal is a 1-mana, 2/1 Core Soldier. When Core Field Marshal enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a Plains or an Island card. You may reveal a Plains or an Island and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. This is pretty good. Yeah, this is pretty solid. It's a 1-mana 2/1, so it's already just, like, passes the vanilla test. I don't really know, if you had a vanilla, like, 1-mana card, I don't know how big it should be, but 2/1 seems reasonable. And then it gets you a land. If you're mono white, you can get yourself a Plains. If you're white and blue, you can get yourself an Island. You don't have to be in white and blue, though. You could just be white in anything, and you still want to get those. Like, I've played decks where I'm just like, this card gives me a land just because I need to be consistent with my land drops. I don't care. And I'm playing like, 2 colors. Yeah. That card's great. Do you recognize this challenge? No? Well, that's alright. It's the reason I made it. Okay. Sorceress Spy Network. That's a great name. Sorceress Spy Network is a 1-mana white instant. Reveal the top card of your library. You may cast it without paying its mana cost if it's an instant or sorcery spell. Ooh! Oh, I kind of love this card. What? Oh, this card's cool. It's a 1-mana instant. I feel like this kind of effect you'd see on a body or something, where it's like, maybe it's like a tap ability, or you have to put some mana into it, but like, you have 1 shot with this card to hit an instant or sorcery. So, you really want to make sure you've stacked the top of your deck with something cool, which is something you can do. There's ways of doing that. I don't know if there's ways of doing that in this set, per se, but yeah, I just think this card's cool. I like it. It would be better if it did something where it was like, reveal cards from the top of your deck until you reveal a sorcerer instant. That would be the better version. That would be the good version of this card. But for 1 mana, yeah, that could be really cool. I like it a lot. It's a great, like, Hail Mary. If you're like, well, I'm dead, so I'm going to play Sorcerer's Spy Network and see if something happens, and you flip the top card of your deck, and maybe you win when you shouldn't have, and that's fun. Everyone likes that. I'd much rather spend time fighting those behind us than those in front of us. Kippar, Inquisitor. That card's great. I love that. I like that name, too. Like, you gotta know what the top card of your deck is. Sorcerer's Spy Network. Spikefield is a 1-mana, 1/1 enchantment creature goblin. Ooh, okay. So goblins were another one that I was considering feeding into the name, but I didn't want it to just be a string of keywords. I wanted it to actually feel like the name of a set. Because we see a couple cards that take care about goblins. I think there's only like 2 goblins in the entirety of Gods of Winter, and one of them cares about goblins or something. I could be mistaken. Don't quote me on that. But didn't expect to see them in white. Spikefield doesn't untap during your untap step if an opponent taps 1 or more lands they control. Huh. I mean, this is a 1-mana 1/1 with a downside. It's bad. It's not a good card. But this is saying, like, at your upkeep, or at your untap step, your opponent is given a window that they're allowed to tap down one of their own lands to stop you from untapping this. Which is, like, a cool idea. Like, it kind of taxes a single land if your opponent wants to. It's like they can pay 1 mana to tap it down, basically. It's bad. Anyway, when goblins found the stone head of Dax Killer, they rejoiced in their greatest victory. Unfortunately, they weren't prepared for what was under the stone. What was under the stone? Let's find out. A Lurgoyf! Lurgoyf is a 1-mana 2/1 human knight. It's an enchantment creature. It has protection from artifacts. Cool. I mean, that's the thing, right? This is a 1-mana card. It shouldn't be too exciting. And this is cool, It's a 1-mana 2/1. As we saw before, 1-mana 2/1 seems like a reasonable stat line, I think. I don't know. Plus some random upside. And this is protection from artifacts, which is fun. It has the same problem as the, like, protection from color effects that I've talked about before, but anybody can run artifacts. Whether they will or not is really who's to say. But, like, actually, now that I think about it, I'm not sure how that works. Like, most artifacts, it doesn't matter. I guess if an artifact pings, that matters. If an artifact is a creature, it matters. Otherwise, not so much, right? Like, if my opponent has a sword equipped, right? If they have an equipment, I'm not protected from the equipment because all it does is buff the creature, and I don't protect the creature. Also, it's a Lurgoyf, but now I don't. Yeah, I think I'll reroll this one just. The young of the eastern seas favor war and warfare. Aided by a brilliant array of weaponry, they are unstoppable. Alright. Spellskite is a 1-mana, 1/1 enchantment creature spirit. Creatures you control get +1/+1 for 3 mana. Draw a card, then discard a card. Okay, so I guess this is the flip side, is are we okay with a 1-mana 1/1 that gives your creatures +1/+1? Bare minimum, this is a 1-mana 2/2, which I think is probably fine. But it also buffs your entire board. And you can spend mana and She learns from each defeat. In the afterlife, she marches on with strength and confidence. Is this too strong for the set as a whole? Maybe not. There's some very stupid broken cards. But this is broken in a way that's just kind of like... It's just a 1-mana card that just does this thing. It's not like, okay, this is really expensive. This is really, really good if you can get to 5 mana or anything. The fact that it's so cheap is like... I guess the thing is, like... This is why the next time I do this, I really want to just, like, only reroll things that are functionally broken and see what the power level ends up being. Because... like, who am I to put that much control over the power level of this set? It's an AI set. I'm just pushing the buttons. I think I'm gonna try again. Yeah. For 1 mana, I think it's just too much. Brood of Giants is a 1-mana 1/1 enchantment creature giant. A 1-mana giant is very funny. Sorry, like a 1/1 giant is very funny. Whenever Brood of Giants or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Huh. Okay. Strong. Possibly even stronger than the other card that we saw. But you'd have enchantments entering the battlefield. Yeah. I'll allow it. Also, giants are cool. Every culture that sees it wishes to have one. Temple of Core. The Temple of Core said that? What does that mean? Okay, I don't know. Moving on. Standard Bearer is a 2-mana 2/2 human soldier with cutoff text. It looks like a keyword followed by reminder text. It has flanking. Wait, no. Yeah, it does. It has flanking. I can't read the first line. I don't remember exactly what the wording of flanking is, but yeah, blocks this creature. The blocking creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. It's got flanking. That's just an act. Okay, I know flanking. Okay, so Standard Bearer is a 2-mana 2/2 human soldier with flanking with the correct reminder text. For generic and white, Standard Bearer gains first strike until end of turn. That is really good. Without being broken. I really like this card, actually. Flanking is a very cool effect. It doesn't get printed anymore, I don't think, which is kind of a shame. It's like it's a very clean effect. It's very cool. And then you can give it first strike if the flanking -1/-1 is not enough, you know? Yeah, I like it a lot. The soldier I'd first encountered at the keep was impressive enough, but his own weapon dwarfed his own shoulders. Samael, Soldiers of Core Commander. Nice. No, I'm into that. Palace Sentinels is a 5-mana 4/4 human knight. It has morph for a single white. Okay. You may cast this card face down as a 2/2 creature for 3 generic. That is what morph means. Turn it face up anytime for its morph cost. So, you could either spend 5 mana for a 4/4, or you could spend 3 generic and a white for a 4/4. So it's just always cheaper to morph it. When Palace Sentinels is turn face up, destroy target non-land permanent. Okay. So, this is a card that's just functionally never has a reason to be done paid its full price. That said, there's precedent for this in the game. There is a morph creature that the entire point of it is that it's a very small body, but it has a very, very high casting cost for shenanigans, right? There's some reasons why having a creature that has a mana value of 8 but only costs you 3 is relevant. So that does exist in Magic already. So I'm not completely against that. That means that this is a 4 mana 4/4 that destroys a creature when it enters the battlefield. That is huge. But it's even stronger than that because it is actually a 3 mana 2/2 that then has the activated ability of 1 mana, become a 4/4, and kill something. And that's all instant speed after you've done the initial casting of the 3 mana morph. It's very strong. The question is, do I think it's too strong? And clearly I'm just bad about my own internal logic about what is quote-unquote too strong. Too strong is a weird term, right? It's not necessarily like... I don't know exactly what too strong even means. This card's very strong. This card's very strong. But it's like, it's the kind of very strong that's not just like, and I win the game. Not that the other card was either, right? But I don't know. I'm going to allow it. I probably shouldn't. As they pass, I am always pleased to see them. They are welcome additions to the wall. Spyrodon, commander of the palaces. Palace Sentinels are scary, is basically what I'm learning, and that sounds correct. Underworld Rebirth is a 6 mana white sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal them, put one onto the battlefield tapped, and the other into your hand, then shuffle. This is that one green card, whatever it's called, growth thing. You know the one. It's like the most common green ramp spell, but it's far overpriced compared to that one, I think. I think the card's like 3 or 4 mana, something like that. And this is 6. But it has 2 things going for it. One, it is a basic land, whereas I believe the other one is find 2 forests. So that's interesting. 2, it's in white, right? So green gets all the ramp. What's interesting, so I had this conversation earlier about how the AI doesn't respect the color pie, right? And that's fine. That's expected, and don't worry about it too much. But the idea of saying, hey, this is a color pie break, which I guess, again, I should probably say, if you're new to Magic, you don't know what the heck I'm talking about when I say the color pie. It's basically just like the general themes of the different colors of Magic and like what is appropriate for a card to exist for them. You wouldn't see this effect in white, but you make it cost like 2 extra mana, maybe it's okay, right? Maybe the difference isn't that white can't have this effect, it's that it's way cheaper for green. Maybe that's okay. It's not exciting because it's a card we've seen before, other than the cost and other than the color, but okay. Time has ended. Change is the only reality. Lindblom, Deviant Philosopher. I like Deviant Philosopher, that's pretty good. Protect the Wormling is a 2 mana white sorcery. Destroy target artifact. If that artifact was your target, okay, create 2 Treasure tokens. They're artifacts with tap, sacrifice. Okay. So I do love the flavor of Protect the Wormling, right? Like, dragons, rar, but the baby dragon, we need to protect them because they're not big dragons yet. That's fun. How are we going to protect the Wormling? We're going to destroy... Oh, it's destroy target artifact. I kind of hadn't realized that. This card is much more reasonable now. At first I was like, that is a very cheap kill spell. It's basically free. But it only hits artifacts. Huh. No, I like this, actually. I don't know what the going rate for destroying an artifact is, but it's such a specific effect that this could end up being a dead card in your hand very easily. I like it. No goblin can stand against such a creature. Jury, Master Librarian. Cool. Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Vanguards of Kor is a 7-mana human knight? How dare you? How dare you? Vanguards of Kor is a 7-mana white 5/4 human knight with first strike and protection from black. I fear no men or monsters. They will tremble before me. Ignoring the type line, 7 mana 5/4 first strike. I don't know what the going rate for first strike is, but it's a very powerful effect, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's reasonable. Protection from black also, again, protects itself from black removal spells and stuff, and that's potentially useful, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to reroll this card. I think it's probably fine, but power level-wise, it's more expensive than I'd want to pay for it, but it's probably not too broken. Sir Amphiphagus. What? Is a 7-mana 4/4 human knight. It has first strike and unleash. I wonder if that's a real... Unleash means you may have this creature enter the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it. It can't block as long as it has a 1/1 counter on it. Is that a real effect? That's very cool. I wasn't aware of this ability. That's actually a really cool keyword. If you wanted to enter with a +1 counter, yeah, it's either 1/1 bigger than it's printed and can't block, or it's its printed values, but it can block. That's really cool. Yeah, I like that. Anyway, our card is a 7-mana 4/4 first strike or 5/5 first strike that can't block. Well, since I have a reference here, this card is a 6-mana 5/4 first strike and haste with Unleash. That's convenient. I'm going to re-roll this card. The Black Knight rides in death, the death of an enemy. The death of an enemy, then, is as natural to him as a horse and a shield. Okay. Flaming Whelp is a 7-mana 5/4. As I mentioned before, when you get to high mana cost, and I get very confused. So, yeah. And I would too. I don't know what the power rating should be for something that costs 7 mana. Flaming Whelp attacks each combat if able. For 5 mana, that's 3 generic white, Flaming Whelp deals 1 damage to any target. Come on. Come on, give me something cool. Hurl yourself into the fight. This way, you might just end it. Lord Celestant Stout Gold. That's a pretty cool. That's a pretty cool. Blazing Dragon. Okay. Is a 7-mana 4/5 dragon. It has flying and a hexproof. She's fire. She's fiery. She's got 4 wings, and she burns like hell. Okay. I'm tempted to keep this just because it's a very cool package, even if the mana is too expensive. But let's do a little bit of scouting and see what would this effect be worth normally. All right, I couldn't find something that was a very close example. This card, which I think is probably pretty strong, it's Silumgar, Drifting Death. It's a legendary dragon. This is 6 mana for a 3/7. So 5/4 is a lot more power than 3/7, but it's a lot less toughness. So, probably you prefer the power of the toughness with flying and hexproof because you don't really need to be that defensive. I don't know. But it also has this other effect that whenever a dragon you control attacks, creature defending player controls. So it's got this extra upside, and it's already only 6 instead of 7. So I'm thinking it's probably not great what we've seen. Oh, this card's a 4/5 actually. I said so it's like 3/7 versus 4/5. Yeah, still thinking that this is probably pretty weak. There's also Ascended Law Mage, which is 4 mana for a 3/2. Flying hexproof. So, again, much smaller for less cost, so a little bit hard to make a direct comparison. Anyway, do I want to keep this? It's a 7 mana cost. It's gonna be hard to get something good anyway. I have the time. Let's see something cooler than this. I do like this card, though. Everything but the actual, like, mechanics of it. It's just, if this costed less, I'd be like, great card. She's fire, she's fiery, she's got 4 wings, and she burns like hell. What more do you want? Apparently, I want a bit more functional card. Ooh. We did it! We did it! We got there! We did it! Hope the card's good. Core Clenal is a 7 mana, 4/6 core soldier. It has first strike and cycling 2. I think this is probably pretty good. It's probably a bit expensive, but 7 mana for 4/6, the size isn't that much different, right? If we compare to the last card, which was a 4/5, this is a little bit bigger. It doesn't have flying, doesn't have hexproof, but it does have first strike. So that's cool. But it also has cycling. I think that's a really big deal. What this means is that you don't need to worry too much about getting to 7, right? If it's late game and you draw this off the top, you're going to probably be happy to have a 4/6 first strike body, no matter what the cost was, because you're at the end of the game. But if you're early in the game and you know you're not going to get to 7 anytime soon, you can discard it for 2 to draw a card. I think that's probably pretty good. I think that's a really good use of cycling. A noble army has no meaning without honor. Lord Core Clenal. Interesting. What does that mean? Like, this is Core Clenal. Who is Lord Core Clenal? What does that mean? I don't understand. I'll allow it. Let's continue. Spent too much time here already. Burrington Warcaller is a 2 mana, 2/2 enchantment creature, human soldier. When Burrington Warcaller enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 other target non-land permanent an opponent controls until Burrington Warcaller leaves the battlefield. That permanent returns under its owner's control. Yeah. Okay, I don't know what the going rate for a, for like a jailer effect is, but it's cheap, but it's on a small body, so it's probably not that hard to get rid of. Like, I like it. Okay, yeah. Cool. Works. You can put the barricades up, and you can use the black powder to blow them down. But when the final moment comes, you'll not only lose the fight, you'll lose your legs, your eyes, and your honor. That's probably true. Falconwrath Noble. That's a real card, right? 4 mana, aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has first strike. It deals combat damage before creatures without first strike. Cool. I think I might check what the going rate for this is. I'm very inconsistent about when I decide to check for that, but yeah, I like this effect. I'm curious if 4 mana is too weak or too strong. I will reiterate, I've said this many times before, but it's not a big deal if it's too weak or too strong, right? Like, those are things that are allowed. There is variance in proper Magic as well, but I'm curious for this one, actually. Alright, so Angelic Destiny, 4 mana, instead of being +2/+2, it's +4/+4, also flying, also makes it an angel, if that's relevant. And if the enchanted creature dies, the card goes back to your hand. That said, this is a mythic and is like a $4 card if you wanted to buy one. It's like never been reprinted, so not a great example. Commanding Presence is also 4 mana, and it's +2/+2, and it's first strike. And whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, create a 1/1 human creature token. So this card is basically the same, right? If we look at Falconwrath Noble, 4 mana, +2/+2, first strike, ends there. Commanding Presence, exactly the same, except for with that additional upside. There's also Dub, which, as you can see, is the sort of common version, right? We saw a mythic, we saw an uncommon, and this is a common. This one's 3 mana, so it's cheaper, and it gives +2/+2, first strike, and is a knight. So generally, it looks like the card we made is about... It's a little bit overpriced for what it is. This is probably what it should be, about 3 mana card. Whereas those other ones were probably a bit too strong compared to other things, honestly. So I think I'm actually kind of happy with leaving it where it is, where it's like, yeah, it's 4 mana. You can get this same effect from Dub for only 3 mana. But it's a different set. Different power levels or different things. I think I'm happy to keeping the 4. It's not so overpriced that it's unplayable. They are dangerous to approach, even for the adepts of Falconwrath. Rosharira? Rosharira, Waywatcher. Also, again, Falconwrath Noble. Like, I don't know if individually there's a Falconwrath Noble. I think Falconwrath Nobles is a card. Either way. Completely different. They're like a family of vampires, I think. I mentioned this before, but I do sort of feel like the AI sets have to be kind of treated as not being within the universe of Magic. Like, you're gonna see, you know, faction names from every different plane because the AI doesn't know. So, don't worry about it so much. Oh, wait a minute. What? Corrupt Elf is a 2 mana 2/2 core soldier with first strike and protection from elves. Are core just corrupted elves? I really like that lore implication. I was thinking about core the other day where I was like, I don't get core. What the heck even are core? Why are they their own thing? The idea that core are just corrupted elves, whatever corrupted means, like, they're not normal elves. They're elves that have changed somehow. Like, corruption obviously is a loaded term, but you know what I mean. I like that a lot. Maybe not all core, but like, the idea that this was an elf and something happened and now they're a core soldier and they now have protection from other elves? Like, that is super interesting. Wow. So it's a 2 mana 2/2 with first strike, which we already saw a 2 mana 2/2 with first strike, I think. I'm okay with it. Sometimes you just need that critical mass, you know? It also has protection from elves, which is just cool. There are a lot of elves in Gods of Winter, and when we get to green, who knows, we might see more elves when we get there. It also has, for white, Corrupt Elf gets +1/+1 until end of turn, so a little overpriced for that effect, but it's repeatable, could still be relevant. And then also for a single white mana, Corrupt Elf gains first strike until end of turn. It already has first strike, but it doesn't break anything. The card still works. He and she can no longer deny the taint, for the gift of corruption extends to them both. That is so interesting. I like the lore implications of this. This is really interesting to me. That's what core are. I wonder if all core are that. Huh. Kavu Keensail. We're in blue! We made it to blue. So that's how long it took to get through white. I think we'll call it there. No. It's a smaller set. I think I can get through the set probably in like 3 videos. But that was all the white, which is, you know, presumably like a fifth of the set. So maybe I should keep going. I'm gonna keep going. Let's try and do all white and olive blue. Kavu Keensail is a 4-mana 1/3 Merfolk Rogue. For a single blue, Kavu Keensail gets +1/+1 till end of turn. Cool. So 1 for 1, pretty good. And for generic and blue, creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn. Ooh, that is scary. It is 4 mana to get online and has only a 1/3. And then you still have to pump more mana into it. I think I'm okay with it. Interesting seeing Merfolk. I think there was a couple Merfolk in Gods of Winter, but not like a ton of them. As skilled at dodging danger as she is at catching it. I do like that. That's really good. Like, yeah, I can avoid danger when I want to, and sometimes I'm really good at getting in trouble. Who knows? No, that's great. All right. Let's pick up the pace. Zephyrite Colossus. That's an amazing name. Oh, I love that. It is a 6-mana 4/4 dragon with flying. Whenever Zephyrite Colossus deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Bonsai in chat mentioned earlier about dragons really liking to draw cards in this set. Yeah, I think you're right. Dragons rule in core, but only in core, where the dragon's demands are kept to a minimum. Huh! I mean, okay, maybe that's why we didn't see any dragons in the last set, right? They're only ruling in core. Maybe core is like... Maybe the Hanatang commander that we saw in Gods of Winter, you know, they don't live in wherever that set. They're like in core, which is like nearby. They have to travel over here. And now we're moving the camera to core where this is all going on. I don't know. Interesting. Yeah, so 6 mana 4/4 flyer that draws you cards when it hits face. Okay, cool. I don't know if that is too weak or too strong compared to others, but I think it's playable, and that's really what I draw the line at. I don't think it's too strong. Spires of Sanaya's Anarch is a 6-mana 3/5 enchantment creature shapeshifter. For a blue mana, untap another target creature you control. That is powerful. For generic and blue, until end of turn, that creature gains lifelink and becomes a white avatar with lifelink. So I don't think that this works properly. Like, I like this idea a lot. I don't think that there's precedent for it in Magic. What this implies to me is, like, when you use the first activated ability, that becomes that creature for the second, until that ability is used again. So it's like, I spend 1 blue to untap this, then I spend 2 blue to give it lifelink and become a white avatar with lifelink, which, weird. I had not parsed that the first time. That's funny. I don't think you can stack instances of lifelink. It's not like prowess or whatever. But yeah, so the idea that, like, generic in blue does not refer to... It's not target creature. It's that creature. But I kind of like it as not target creature in that you can't do it unless... It's basically a 3-mana ability that costs only 2 mana if you want the first ability of untapping. It is a mess, though, and doesn't actually work. I'm going to read the flavor text and then re-roll this. It's a confusing, dynamic community of outlaws. Yeah, no kidding. Of outlaws, malcontents, and vigilantes. But its sheer quantity makes it formidable. Dark Moor Brawler. Ooh, a giant is a 6-mana, 3/4 enchantment creature giant. It can tap for target creature can't be blocked this turn. It's just kind of boring. For 6 mana? In 1,000 years, they'll build an archway and say, "Look at that! The work of Dark Moor Giants!" Pamela Guildswoman. That's very funny flavor text. Okay. Bloodthirsty Giant is a 6-mana, 5/5 enchantment creature giant warrior with vigilance. Okay. For 4 mana, Bloodthirsty Giant gets +1/+1 until end of turn. That's very expensive, but okay. Whatever Bloodthirsty Giant attacks, create a blood token. That's cool. It's an artifact with generic and tap. Discard a card, sacrifice this artifact, draw a card. Okay. And then for 4 mana, regenerate Bloodthirsty Giant. This is cool. I mean, it's like... all these abilities are very expensive, but, like, it has a lot of abilities. Like, it makes it flexible, even though it costs a lot. So I think that's kind of... reasonable. I like it. Bloodthirsty Giant. And the fact that it makes blood tokens when it attacks is just funny. Because it's bloodthirsty. That's very silly. Foul! Foul! That's the flavor text. Or is this a FUD? No, that's an L. I thought it might have been a D. No, it's an L. Very good. Continue. Jade Sage is a 4-mana, 3/4 elemental. Ooh, nice. We haven't seen any elementals yet in this set. They were in the Gods of Winter a lot. When Jade Sage enters the battlefield, put a gold counter on target non-land permanent you control. When Jade Sage dies, return that card to its owner's hand. That card isn't defined here, right? Like, I like the idea that it's like ETB, put a gold counter on target non-land permanent you control. When Jade Sage dies, return permanents with gold counters on them to their owner's hand or something. Like, that would work. I don't think this works the way it's written. I think that card would refer to, like, I don't know, maybe Jade Sage itself. I don't know. I see no logic to your training. Tiamat to Sigarda. Weird. Let's try it again. Pearl Drake is a 4-mana, 3/2 Drake. Not a dragon. It's a Drake. It has flying. Ooh. That's just 2 people. Creature Drake flying. For blue, sacrifice Pearl Drake. Counter target creature with flying. Okay, that's technically not correct. It should be like counter target creature spell with flying or something. I think once it... Yeah. Yeah. You can't target creatures. You can only target creature spells. And as much as that's an annoying distinction, it is an accurate one, I believe. Otherwise, it's a 4-mana 3/2 with flying. It's not very exciting, but not that bad either. Like, you'd run that. And the idea that you can use it to counter something... Like, if this card was written properly... I think I'd like it. I think I quite like this effect. I could just allow this because it's solid. You know what it means. You could errata that very easily. It's not a big deal. But hey, Let's see what new cards are. Why not? His oyster treasures aren't limited to air and sea. Flavor-wise, this card just doesn't do anything, so that's another reason. Hey! Another shot at a Drake. Tender Drake is a 4-mana, 3/3 Drake with flying. Tender Drake enters the battlefield tapped, and it has cycling of generic and blue. Huh. So it's a 4-mana, 3/3 flyer with a downside. Still probably playable in limited. And then you can cycle it for 3 if you prefer to do that, than have this thing that comes into the battlefield tapped. I like it. I don't know. Cycling gives me a lot of leeway on card design, where it's just sort of like, I wouldn't like this normally, and it's not actually better, but it gives you flexibility, and that flexibility is worth a lot, so yeah, I like it. It knows only flight, instinctively following its Drake masters, feeling no need to rest or breed. Okay. Unsummon. That's a card. Unsummon is a 2-mana blue instant. Unsummon 2 black creatures. Undersized creature gets +2/+1 until end of turn. That just means nothing at all. The idea of unsummon as a generic term is totally kind of reasonable. Like, obviously it's not rules as written correct, but unsummon is a card. I believe it just bounces it to its owner's hand, right? Like, it's bloop, goes away. Maybe it's a counter. I should look that up. I should double check what yeah, it's just a 1-mana instant, return target creature to its owner's hand. So, very, very, reasonable. The idea of saying, hey, this is the generic turn to bounce a card to a creature to its owner's hand is pretty reasonable. I mean, mill is a community term for moving cards from your library to your graveyard directly, named after the original card, Millstone. And now it's a real term, right? Now it's a real in the rules of Magic term. So while currently unsummon does not mean to use the spell unsummon, that's not unreasonable that might happen one day. That said, it would be weird if unsummon just says, like, unsummon target creature. That would be weird. And especially a card named Unsummon, which doesn't unsummon, it unsummons 2 black creatures instead of the usual effect. Either way, undersized creature gets +2/+1 doesn't mean anything. The master spells Forbidden Secrets and Lost Treasures of Jace Bellerin's storied past make him a dangerous foe. Alright. Get out of here, Jace. We don't want you here. Water Signet is a 2-mana instant with buyback of generic and blue. Okay. Double checking the reminder text. If you pay an additional generic and blue as you cast the spell, you may pay an additional generic and blue as you cast the spell. If you do, put this card into your hand as it resolves. Create a 1/1 blue fish creature token with flying. Okay, so we saw a buyback card in the last set, and I probably should have banned it because buyback is just always broken. But since we have that card in the previous set, I don't think it'd be weird if I allowed that one and not this one. So how do I feel about 4 mana? Create a 1/1 blue fish creature token, draw a copy of this card, right? That's kind of what buyback is. And, I don't know, if it was just 4 mana, create a 1/1 blue fish and draw a card, I think I'd probably find that kind of bad. But it's not draw a card, it's draw this card. I'll allow it. I'm into there being a way of making infinite blue fish creature tokens with flying. That just sounds fun. Take up a vantage point from which you can spot any ship entering or leaving port. There's no guarantee you'll spot the captain. Urza said that. Cool. Nice. Ghost Quartermaster. Nice. 2 mana, 1/1. Human Wizard. Tap, draw a card, then discard a card. Okay. I do not know what the going rate on this effect should be. I know that I always undervalue the draw a card, discard a card effect, and it's actually quite useful. Being able to just... Yeah, that seems great. Welcome to Phyrexia. You may leave here any time you wish, but you cannot leave until the shadows have been removed from the city. So, like, not really any time you wish, I guess. Queen Asmood, Guildmaster of the Core Arcane. Okay. So are we in Phyrexia? Oh, I don't know what's happening. What's next? Find/Finish is a 3-mana sorcery. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a dragon permanent card from among them. Put into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. So this is 3 mana. Look at the top 4 cards. Choose one, draw it. Except it's worse than that because it can only hit dragons. If it lets you just take any card from the top 4, is this priced well? I think probably. I'm not 100% sure how much that should cost, but maybe. Only hitting dragons makes it pretty bad. In the time of peace, artifacts from Kuldotha were mass-produced and widely dispersed, but no Kuldotha worker died to ensure that the Littjara held no meaning. I don't know what that means. I do want to talk a little bit about just, like, split cards, right? This is basically making a split card, but only one half of it. In theory, Find/Finish would have a finish, and it would be a different mana cost, and that would make the card more flexible, and therefore probably worth having this ability on it, so it would be reasonable. But we don't have the other half, so, you know. Generally, I will accept the split cards, and if the front half is fine, I don't mind that. I don't feel like they need to be re-rolled, but yeah, it's kind of a shame. Menace of the Oldest Gods. That's really funny. Oh, you're an old god? I'm an oldest god, alright? Menace of the Oldest Gods is a 3-mana blue sorcery. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and have Menace. Great. I don't know what the going rate for that is, but it seems good. The old gods relish the moment when they feel the sharp teeth of their kin. What? They're into, like, biting each other? Is that... Okay. Yeah, sure. Doom/Doom! Wait a minute, this is... So it's a split... The name is a split card, but it's a permanent. You can't have split cards that are permanents, right? I don't think so. That's kind of cool. Anyway, Doom/Doom. I do like the idea of a split card that both sides do the same thing, but you can decide which side you're using. Just cuz. It's a 6-mana enchantment. It does nothing immediately, but it then says, for blue and sacrifice Doom, which, I mean, this card's Doom, clearly. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. Not great. Could win you a game, so fine. But it also has the static effect, whenever you cast a creature spell, if it was kicked, sacrifice Doom. No, that's just bad. Okay, never mind. For the first time, this game shall change history. Ashnod. Not this time, though. Not this time. Let's try again. Torment of Treachery is a 6-mana enchantment aura. Enchant creature. You control enchanted creature. Okay, that's pretty good so far. I think I'd pay 6 mana to steal something from my opponent. Both removes it and gives me something. Yeah, pretty strong. At the beginning of your upkeep, if enchanted creature is a creature, sacrifice Torment of Treachery. Ah. Huh. So it's not good, per se, but doesn't have use case. If you just wanted to threaten something, threaten being the term to take control of something until end of turn, usually it also gives it haste. If you just want to threaten something, threaten effects are always cheaper, right? Because it's only until end of turn, so you get it, you attack with it, goes away. And those can be useful for a number of reasons, right? Because you can sacrifice the creature. Now that you control it, you're allowed to sacrifice it. So it lets you destroy something. That's cool. Nice. But it goes away at the end of the turn, and it's going to be much cheaper. This, on the other hand, you don't have to get rid of it until the beginning of your upkeep. Which means you could, like, block with it, is kind of interesting. And you can still sacrifice it if you have, like, a sacrifice effect that's instant speed that you can use before your next upkeep. It's just so expensive. Yeah. And I don't think there's any way of getting around the sacrifice effect. Right? At the beginning of your upkeep, if enchanted creature is a creature, sacrifice charm and treachery. Even if you had some effect that stopped it from being a creature, which I think you can do. I think there are effects that can stop creatures from being creatures. I think the enchantment falls off. I could be wrong about the rules here, but I think that if an aura that enchants creatures, the creature stops being a creature, it goes away. That's why in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, we saw effects that were like enchant creature or artifact, because if they weren't worded that way, the equipment creatures that could shift between being a creature or being an equipment, they stop being a creature when they're equipment, and those effects would have fallen off, so that's why they made all the, like, auras work that way. I don't know if all of them do, but a number of them do work that way. So. Weird. I'm going to reroll it. It's so easy to put down the red dragons. Grome's Boros Raider. Devastation Tide is a 6-mana aura. Enchant creature. At the beginning of each combat, tap enchanted creature and you gain 2 life. Huh. That's so interesting. So you enchant your opponent's creature. It taps it down before combat every turn, right? It's each combat. It doesn't say that the creature has to be untapped to tap it down. And then, like, if it does get tapped, gain 2 life. Which means this is gaining you 4 life every round, because it's both your combat and your opponent's combat. Yeah, I mean, it's expensive, but if you care about life gain, it's actually pretty good. And then also, it shuts down a creature. Again, expensive to shut down a creature, but I'd pay 6 mana to destroy a creature if it gave me some life. Sometimes. Or I'm, like, in limited and I really don't have other options. Yeah. It has come to my attention that the Menace of the Oldest Gods does not actually function. It's written like an enchantment. Right? It says creatures you control get +1/+1 and have menace, as opposed to, like, get +1/+1 and gain menace until end of turn or something like that, right? It's written like a static effect. And as a sorcery, that doesn't work. Even if it said and gain menace, it still wouldn't really work because it doesn't have an end. Like, it doesn't say when it ends, which implies that it lasts, like, forever, which isn't, like, it's not technically impossible, it's just not really appropriate for card design. Anyway. Cool card. Let's get another shake of it. I will say, we'll get back to Devastation Tide. I think that card's actually pretty decent, and I'll probably be keeping it. And I will get to that flavor text. I probably shouldn't have stopped in the middle, but I just, you know. Colossal Destiny is a 3-mana sorcery. Destroy target creature with power less than the number of wizards you control. I don't need no. I don't know if this card needs to have such a drawback, but I mean, it's funny And it's blue. If this was in black, you'd be like, come on, just play murder, right? But, like, in blue? Maybe? We've seen a few wizards already. There might be more wizards. Maybe there'll be more wizards. The thing is, there weren't really any wizards in Gods of Winter. If you're playing this in, like, a limited game where you have a pack of each set in the block, you might not have enough wizards. So, that's a little bit limiting, but in Constructed, it could be kind of good. Probably still not great, though, right? Because even if you're playing, like, a wizard deck, you probably only have, like, 3 wizards on the field at any given time. So, it's power less than. Not, like, less than or equal. So, yeah, I'm going to reroll it. May our paths intersect, but for now, let the colossal tree continue to soar, bringing glory to our people. Mael, Death Knight of Teretha. Force the Hinge is a 3-mana blue sorcery. Exile all graveyards. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. That would be difficult with your graveyard exiled. That said, I mean, exile all graveyards is potentially a quite powerful effect if you need it. Yeah. I mean, the second ability just never does anything, but it's not incorrect. I don't know. I think I'm okay with this. I'm not sure what the going rate for exile graveyards is, but there's a lot of stuff that cares about the graveyard in this set, and in the last one. It's a reasonable tech card. Behold, it is possible to enter and exit from one of your coffins. Seedlurk Elderman. Nice. Let's move on. Where were we? Devastation Tide. The 6-mana enchantment aura. You enchant a creature at the beginning of each combat. It heals you for 2 and it gets tapped down. No, it's great. Like, again, removal is sometimes very expensive and limited, and that's okay, but you have the upside of getting to, if your opponent can't sacrifice the tap down creature or remove your enchantment, you're gaining 4 around. Like, that is a lot. If you're playing, like, Commander, you're getting even more, because it's every combat. Very cool card. The faithful were united in their outrage against the aggressor. Moving on. Temur Enchantment. Okay, I mean, it's an enchantment called enchantment, but that's fine. Is a blue mana. That's not right. Temur Enchantment is a blue enchantment for 1 mana. It's a 1-mana enchantment. There we go. Enchant creature. When enchanted creature dies, its controller may have Temur and 1 other target creature get +2/+2 until end of turn. That's not... No. Fen of the Lich Queen rises up to burn our foes. Our unweave. What? No, that's not what it says at all. Fen of the Lich Queen rises up to burn our foes or unweave our ranks to doom our kin. Teysa, Assassin. Let's try that again. Mind Games. Is there a card called Mind Games? That sounds familiar. Mind Games is a 1-mana blue enchantment aura enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets -1/-1 for each creature card in your graveyard. For 3 mana, draw a card, then discard a card. Okay. Yeah, this feels kind of Mind Gamesy. First of all, it's a kill spell. If you've got a bunch of creatures in your graveyard, just -1/-1 per, kill something. Cool. But you can also sort of weaken something, or maybe even not give it any minuses. If your graveyard's been, I don't know, exiled recently, this is just a 1-mana enchantment that you can then spend 3 mana repeatedly to cycle through your deck. Cool, flexible. I like it. the mortals could at least buy some silence. Yeah, that works. Ooh, fast. Prey Upon. Blue, blue, blue. Prey Upon is a 3-mana blue instant. Untap target creature you control. That creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Probably pretty overpriced for this effect, but like... It's not... I have a hard time bringing myself to reroll this one because it's like, it's fine. It's fine. And some cards should just be fine. Like, it's a set. It takes all kinds. For blue, 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 I feel like you can do something kind of more interesting, though. I don't know. He came with an offering of boar's tusks. Hardened the creature... What? He came with an offering of boar's tusks. Hardened the creature's scavenged claws. And gave it what it needed to survive. The Captain's Legacies. I'm very tempted to reroll this one just because, like, it's just kind of boring, but... It's fine. They can't all be bangers. Sandshaper Rigger is a 2-mana, 2/1 enchantment creature merfolk shaman. Why did I say shaman? Merfolk rogue. When Sandshaper Rigger enters the battlefield, draw a card. When Sandshaper Rigger dies, you gain 2 life. Clean. I like it. Yeah. Maybe even too strong. I don't know. But, like, not too strong in a way that's busted. Too strong in a way that's just kind of like, oh, yeah, that's good value. You know. There's different kinds of overpowered. There's like, oh, that's very strong in like, incremental value. Or good value one time. Or something that's just going to win you the game. This isn't going to just win you the game. But it's very good. Yeah, I like it. I also just like this name. Sandshaper Rigger is really cool. Merfolk. Rogue, maybe what sort of rigging is the merfolk using? I don't know. And why isn't it an enchantment creature? I don't question why things are enchantments often enough. I think I should, but I don't know. I like the idea of a merfolk enchantment creature. It's just like filled with magic. Cool magical creature. You see an ideal future, and then just like that, it is gone. Taurus Sandshaper Trainee. Interesting. So is sand shaping like some kind of augury among merfolk? And a Sandshaper Rigger is like a level of Sandshaper expertise? I'm into it in being like an augur. It's interesting. Like you associate augury with like scrying, but I mean drawing a card is just like better scrying, so like it's fine. Cool. No, I like it. Moving on. Oh, that was fast. There we go. Coral Slumberer. That's a great name. It's a 5-mana 3/4 elemental. Tap. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. Huh. It's pretty expensive and has a pretty small body. And if you're tapping it, you're not really using that body for anything, right? Because you wouldn't really want to tap this after declaring blockers, for example, because you're going to add that to... You want one of your creatures to not be blocked. But, like, being able to make something unblockable repeatably like this is actually a very strong effect. It's really easy to sort of, like, undervalue that, but... If you've got one big thing that just needs to get through, and you make it unblockable every turn, it's pretty good. Yeah, I think I like it. It's like a bit overcosted. I mean, it's quite a bit overcosted for its stat line. But if you need it as a body, it has an okay body. And if you don't need it as a body, you can use it to make something else go through and hit face really hard. Yeah. Yeah, no, I like it. I think I get too hung up on, like, power level, and, like, this is a cool card. It's maybe playable. Maybe it's not playable. Maybe it's not, but it feels like the kind of card that you would see in a set, and maybe go, ooh, is that good? And that's kind of good enough. Like, that works. I think that works. A headboard lulled them to sleep. A gentle tap was all it took to awaken them. Oh, okay. And we see our first core outside of white. Anafenza, Student of Steel, a 7-mana, 3/6 blue core soldier with flash. That's a lot of mana hold open for flash, but okay. Whenever Anafenza, Student of Steel, attacks, tap target creature an opponent controls. The body is very small for that cost, but flash is quite powerful. And tapping something down every time it attacks is also quite powerful. I'm not ready to completely discount this. Is discount even the right phrase? I feel like it is. It always feels weird when I say it. Anyway, Anafenza definitely sounds like a legendary creature, and it's not. It's just a creature. Also, let's talk about core outside of white. I knew this is something that would happen because the deck name is just... It's got core right in there. We're going to see them in other colors than just white. I was hoping we'd see more of them in white, but whatever. But I think I'm okay with that, right? We saw a single core in Gods of Winter, and it was white. And the precedent of Magic makes us think of core as white. But why couldn't they be other colors? Like, that's fine, you know? Especially if we're going to core. Maybe we're seeing core that have a little bit of a different bent to them. I'm okay with that. Steel bends, minds bend. In war, no single strength will do. The will of all must be combined to defeat an enemy. Anafenza, Dusk Witch. Okay, interesting. Anafenza is a Dusk Witch. Who is Anafenza, Student of Steel? I do like the idea of, like, Anafenza, this legendary character, and then there's Anafenza Dusk Witch, but then also, like, she had to pick up a sword and become a Student of Steel, but she doesn't know what she's doing, so she's just a student. That's fun. Not this card, but that's a very fun, like, image. I like that. Also, I do like that flavor text sort of being the, hey, core is this white-aligned creature type, but it takes all kinds to win a war. We gotta do other things. Like, that's actually kind of cool. So that's sort of justifying moving into, like, blue and stuff. I feel like what Anafenza, Student of Steel, is kind of trying to apply is it's more like Anafenza's Student of Steel, right? Like, these are core soldiers that are under Anafenza, or were like a faction that was established by Anafenza. Like, that's sort of how this reads. It's not correct to the way that Magic actually uses its naming conventions, but whatever. I guess all that said, do I actually like this card? It's way too expensive, but, like, it's pretty decent. I feel like I've talked about this card too long to not use it. Let's move on. I don't know. I kind of feel like I should reroll it, but... Oh well. I definitely hang out on to one card way too long most of the time anyway. Soul Weaver is a 2-mana, 2/1 core soldier. Okay, alright. When Soul Weaver dies, each player exiles cards from their hand face down. How many cards? You gain life equal to the exiled card's mana value. Crap. That's like, it's really interesting, and then but it doesn't actually work, does it? Like, what do you mean each player exiles cards from their hand face down? It's not each player exiles all the cards in their hand face down, or one card in their hand face down. Normally, we see this terminology in, like, exile cards from the top of your deck until, right? You just keep going until. But there's no until, so... I think it just doesn't function. The strength of the Weaver is the soul of its craft. Sorry, Soul Weaver. Revered Mariner is a 2-mana, 1/1 Elemental Soldier. That's cool. It has Vigilance. And for 3 mana and tap, target creature gains double strike until end of turn. Okay, that's a very powerful effect. Okay, yeah, I'll allow it. That's wild. The cormorants will always find fish, but sometimes the catch will not always be plentiful. Fair enough. Fair enough. Can't argue with that. Highland Huntress is a 2-mana, 1/1 human soldier. For blue, Highland Huntress gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Activate only once each turn. This card's boring and bad. For I have seen them, and they are beautiful. Sidisi, Guardian of the Mists. Okay. Searing Blade. Okay, it's a 2-mana star core soldier. We're like seeing more core in blue than in white. This is interesting. I don't know what that implies. Also, we need to see more dragons. Where are the dragons? Searing Blade's power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your hand. That's a very strong, like, early game card. And in blue, ooh, this is maybe too strong. This is like casually a 2-mana 5/5 most of the time, probably. Whoever wields the hilt may lay low an enemy from a single blow. But in my hand, I hold an endless supply of deadly fire. Jahana. What is that? XEQT. Is that an abbreviation for something? Zekit of Sultai. Makes me think of department for some reason. Like the Q backwards is a P. Zequartment. Cool. Flavor-wise, what's up with this, right? It's called Searing Blade. The idea of a soldier that's like the Searing Blade rank or whatever, like that sounds reasonable to me. In blue, it's kind of weird. Like, why is this blue creature called a Searing Blade core soldier? But sure. The idea of a blue core soldier that cares about your cards in hand does feel very flavorful. Other than, again, like, it's weird to see core outside of white, but I obviously knew that was going to happen with a deck name like this, so I'm not, like... I'm okay with it. I'm encouraging of it. I think that we're kind of going to core, and we're seeing all the core people that you don't normally see. All right? These are the ones that aren't just white aligned. We're going to see all stripes of core, and I'm okay with that. Cool. I do think every core we've seen has been a core soldier, which is nice. It would be really frustrating to be like, we made a core, it's a knight. Cool. Yeah, no, I like that. Let's keep going. Probably too strong, but it's too strong in a way that requires other things to go right. It's not just inherently too strong on its own. Spellwright's Fire is a 2-mana blue instant. Create X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens with flying. X is your life total. I think no. Spellwright's Fire, if you just play this on turn 2, makes you 21/1s with flying. The fact that they have flying, especially, is just like, yeah, just like, whatever my life total is, I'm going to do that much damage to you, and if any of those creatures survive, I'm going to do it again. Like, yeah, it's kind of like saying, deal X damage to your opponent, X is your life total, except for it's like, do it next turn, I guess. It is important that you never ask what we do here. The only answer you will receive is to do more. Shadit, Soldier Priest. I mean, flavor-wise, I really like this card. It's very funny. I think no, but it's very funny. Reveal the Way. For 2 mana is a blue instant. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal them, put one into the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand, then shuffle. I feel like I've seen this effect recently, like somewhere. So yeah, we allowed this in white at like 6 mana, which is way too overpriced, but I still allowed it. I cannot justify having a blue version for only 2 mana. Let's do this is no longer an acceptable plan of action. Riathol, Deathtide, Mercenary. That is so funny. That's such a like D&D-ism. I can imagine that happening. Someone's just like, let's do this, and the Paladin's like, no. That is no longer an acceptable plan of action. You have to stop. It's really funny to me. Bone Splinters, that's a real card, is a 2 mana blue instant. It's devoid. It has no color. It is an instant that has a activated ability requiring it to tap. That's not acceptable. Blue tap, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Okay. To feel it, to taste it, is to know the rage of the Sun Empire. One more time. Waterbend Restraint. That's a pretty good name. It's a 2 mana blue instant. You may reveal an island or swamp you control as you cast this spell. And you may cast spells from the top of your library. If you do, draw a card for each spell you cast this way. That's... Huh. So normally I would think that, like, oh, that should say, like, you can cast spells from the top of your library until end of turn or something. But the idea of saying, no, this gives you a timing window of right now you may cast spells from the top of your library. Like, I'm not sure how you'd word that, because I think that's a pretty reasonable effect. There are cards that will be like, you know, exile a card, you may cast it right now, right? Not until end of turn, you may cast it now. And those are interesting because they let you do things that you otherwise couldn't, right? You can cast it like as a sorcery, as an instant, because it says you can cast it now. The idea of like, while you're... So first of all, let's look at the first line. I'm going to break this down. You may reveal an island or swamp you control as you cast the spell. What does that mean? You control islands and swamp on the battlefield. How does revealing work? Like, does reveal inherently mean from my hand even if it doesn't say so? Not necessarily, because you can reveal from the top of your deck. You can reveal from your hand. Cool. If the top card of my deck is revealed, and an effect tells me to reveal the top card of my deck, it doesn't fail. Like, can I just say, this island I control, I'm revealing it? You already could see it, but I'm revealing it anyway. Maybe that's technically illegal by the rules. So let's assume that's how that works and move on. The next line, and you may cast spells from the top of your library. That's all part of the same sentence. So it makes me think that it means you may cast spells from the top of your library as you cast this spell. Okay, it gives us ourselves a timing window, right? If you had a spell that said, I'm going to spend 2 mana to cast an instant, as I cast this spell, I may cast spells from the top of my library. So you cast a spell from the top of your library. And you can basically keep doing that until you run out of mana, because they're not free. Or you, like, hit a land, right? Then, this spell then resolves. That happens intermittently. And then, if you do, draw a card for each spell you cast this way. Now, is the if you do require you to reveal an island or swamp and cast spells, or just one or the other? I don't know. Let's assume... Doesn't matter. Who cares? You may cast spells from the top of your library this way. For each do, draw a card for each spell you cast this way. If this all checks out the way... You know, I'm going to ignore this. This card, I'm going to reroll. We're saying that. But from a custom design standpoint, 2 mana... You may cast spells from the top of your library until you choose to stop. When you choose to stop, draw a card for each spell you cast this way. That's kind of a cool effect. I don't know what the right wording would be. But like, as a custom design, I really like that. Because unless you know what's on top of your library, you might not be able to cast anything. It might just do absolutely nothing. Even if you do, you have to have enough mana to cast those spells. So you might only be able to cast like 1 or 2, and then you're drawing like 2 cards. Which I guess is actually, if you're casting at least 1 spell, you've effectively drawn 2 cards, right? Because you drew the card that you cast off the top of the deck. So that's still very strong. Yeah. I guess you'd probably do it with Exile, right? You'd be like, exile the top card of your deck, you may cast that spell. If you do, exile the next card in your deck. Or like, you'd keep doing that or something. I don't know how it would work. And it'd probably be hard to balance because, yeah, I'm realizing it would spiral very, very quickly. Anyway, yeah, sorry. I kind of went off on a tangent there. In the cruel ages before time and a golden dawn, the archipelagons... Okay, I do like archipelagons as a term. That's great. The archipelagons drank the Crosa. Some, over time, became cursed. Is that where the core came from? Did the Elven archipelagons drink from the Crosa? Well, I guess not, because this card's not canon. Never mind, I shouldn't have said that. Demonstrate. That's actually a great name for a blue card. That might be real. That sounds very much like a real blue card. Demonstrate is a 2-mana blue instant counter target spell. You may choose new targets for the spell. Draw a card. Okay, so I don't think you could choose new targets for the spell because it's been countered. So it just doesn't do anything. And then you draw a card. So this is just like one of the best counter spells that's ever existed. It's 2 mana to counter and you draw. Inquisitors look for evildoers among the innocents, even among their own. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm also just not a huge fan of counter spells. Obviously, the only thing I can think right now is that stupid, like, enchantment that can repeatedly counter spells that that showed up in the other one. Gods of Winter, it's real. Yeah. Hide in the Shadows is a 2-mana blue instant. Hide in the Shadows deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's not exciting, but sure. Okay. Sleek yet feral. Those who seek core for its riches know the shadows to be filled with an entire world of hidden dangers. Seraph of the Fallen Sword. Yeah, it checks out, right? Like, why is Hide in the Shadows doing damage? Because there's dangers hidden in those shadows, and they're gonna stab you. Alright. Alright. Ooh, dragon? Gold-Eye Dragon. Gold-Eye Blue Dragon. Gold-Eye Dragon is a 3-mana 5/4 with flying. Does it have a downside? At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life unless you sacrifice a non-land permanent. I mean, this card might still be too strong. It probably is. 1 life a turn isn't that bad, but... yeah, this is way too strong. But it's very cool. And it's a dragon. It's also an enchantment creature. I didn't mention that part. I'm going to allow it. I probably shouldn't. But look at it! It's cool! It's the Gold-Eyed Dragon! It's a 5/4 for 3 mana that hurts you every turn. I mean, if it hurts you every turn, that's kind of like... it's kind of like it doing 1 less damage. I know that's not how the math works in Magic, but if we pretend this is a 4/4 flyer with no downside, that's very good for 3 mana. I'm going to allow it. In its native woodlands, it kills without provocation. In core, its value is considered infinite. I mean, it's not infinite value, it's fine. Guiding Lights is a 4-mana blue enchantment. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and have flying. Whenever a creature you control dies, return it to the battlefield under your control. This is too good. This is too good. Yeah, if you don't have enchantment removal, you just no longer can remove any creatures. It's also immediate return, so if you have any sort of sack outlet, you could just do that infinitely because the creature is going to come back an infinite number of times. Yeah, it's... Yeah. I mean, if this said, like, creatures you control get +1/+1, have flying, and indestructible, it would probably be weaker than this card currently is. Weirdly enough. Like, I don't think so. A mother is watching over all the sheep, guarding the herd. A watcher, a guardian, and a guide for each one. The herd is being watched over by a mother. They're not going to let him die. I guess. Song of the Outcast. Sorry, Guiding Lights. Dragon God's Rage. It was worth it. Dragon God's Rage is a 4-mana enchantment. Whenever a creature you control dies, if it was a creature, you may pay 3 generic and a blue, 4 mana total. If you do, return it to the battlefield, transformed under its owner's control. So that's fun. That's a fun effect. If you were in like a werewolf thing, they'd come back in transformed. That's cool. Baseline, if we just ignore that last line of the like transform part, because if something can't transform, it just would come back into play not transformed. I believe that's correct by the rules of the game, so that's fine. It's like fringe upside if you happen to have things that transform. That's cool. Is a 4-mana upfront, and then when a creature dies, you can spend 4. It's kind of like everything has 4 mana, regenerate for 4 mana. If this just said 4 mana, then 4 mana regenerate target creature, would that be good? Probably not. Probably not. It is better than that, worth pointing out, because you can't regenerate something you sacrifice, but something you sacrifice does die, so you could pay for this to bring it back. Also, it is a return to the battlefield effect, so it would get its enter the battlefield triggers again. Here I am, on my land, among my people, feeling stronger and better than I have for years. The fever of the fight has made me young and ready for battle. Kynet, exiled heretic dragon mage. I mean, that's cool. I think we gotta allow it just for that. That's great. Jaheira's Companion. 5 mana, blue enchantment creature dragon. It's a 3/3 with flying for a single blue, and sacrifice Jaheira's Companion. Draw 2 cards. I like this. This is clean. It's a 5 mana 3/3 flyer, which you'll get some value out of that. It's a little bit expensive, but you'll get some value out of that. And then when it would die, you can spend blue to sacrifice it and draw 2 cards. It's not like when it dies, you may spend a blue mana if you do draw 2 cards, which would be even better. But 2 cards is a lot of cards. Yeah, sure, you're not going to spend 6 mana to draw 2. I mean, you might even. Like, if you're in the end game and you don't have a win, you might spend 6 mana just to draw 2 cards. It's not something you're excited about, but you might. Yeah. Yeah. Bonsai in chat has mentioned again, another dragon that draws cards. Dragons are clearly looking for something. I do like that lore implication that they're searching and that's why all of them draw cards. That's very cool. To aid another's call is the true calling of a friend. Alara, final refuge. Or refugee? Refuge? No, it's refuge. A refugee has an extra E on the end, right? Yeah. I like it. I mean, Jaheira's not relevant to the set, but whatever. That's fine. Accursed Tombs is a 1-mana blue instant. Accursed Tombs deals 2 damage to target creature. Morbid. If you control a plains or an island, it's not what morbid means, but that's okay. It's an ability word. It doesn't have to be the same as what it normally means in the regular game. Keywords with weird reminder text, I'm not too excited about those, but ability words, I don't mind. If you control a plains or an island, Accursed Tombs deals 2 damage to target creature. Is that like an addition? It's like, deal 2 damage. If you control a plains or an island, do an additional 2 damage. It can be a different target or the same target. I mean, since it's a blue spell, this is almost always going to be 1 mana, deal 4 damage to a creature. Which isn't necessarily too strong, because it can't hit face or anything, but I'm not accepting this. That said, if this was off-color lands, I think this would be kind of an interesting card. Like, that's kind of a cool payoff for being in multicolor. Yeah. The Sengir block the Norn, their pantheon of Kami and the burgeoning legions of the Lord of the Wilds, wanted nothing more than to forget that Sengir even existed. But the demon's servants, in league with those that would rather Sengir remembered his crime, forced his soul into his prison of boggarts. There's a lot of, like, commas and grammar going on in there that I'm not sure I fully parsed what that meant, but cool. Mana Burst is a 1-mana blue instant. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Draw a card. Clean. Clean card. Boom. Clean. Right? Not super exciting, but it does a thing that you want. Like, you would draft this card. There's an archetype that cares about spell slinging your instants and sorceries. Being able to just cantrip off a 1-mana spell and draw something. Perfect. Exactly a thing that the set needs. Your confidence can only hold you so long. Tagaran Brass Player. I don't know why that was funny to me, but it was. Yeah! Sunblade Elite is a 5-mana 3/4 elemental warrior. When Sunblade Elite enters the battlefield, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Okay. For blue, Sunblade Elite gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Okay. So it's overpriced fire breathing, but it's in blue, so that's pretty reasonable. It is a 5-mana 3/4, which isn't great, but it's kind of like a 5-mana 3/4 ETB, deal 3 damage to target creature, which isn't, I mean, if that, you might die in the process and that'd be bad, but, you know, if you're using it in its most ideal situation, it's 5-mana, 3/4, kill a creature. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. And then it can also buff itself in the future from there on. Nice. His mighty blades rend enemies and spread light across the battlefield. Courier of Kor is a 5-mana human wizard. I kind of love that. I'm just gonna go take something over to Kor, you know, I'll be right back, it's fine. Human wizard, that's great. Kor is the name of the order. It means light and power, though only the wisest can truly know its meaning. What? Does this contradict anything? Like, I feel like Kor is a country, but is it also the name of an order? Sorry, I've caught ahead. I was distracted by the flavor. It is a 5-mana 3/3 flyer, okay, but also has Delirium. Whenever Courier of Kor or another creature you control dies, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. That is really good. This, to me, it's like, this feels like a courier going to, like, the underworld, like the afterlife and back, which is fun. Kor is the name of the order. It means light and power. I like this card. I don't know if it's exactly good enough for 5 mana, but I like it. It's cool. Returning creatures to your hand when they die. Yeah. Whenever core or another creature you control dies, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. I don't know if it could target the creature that just died. Probably not, because it's not enters the battle like graveyard. It's like dies. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% on that, but cool. I like it. Oh, that one checks out. I think that was really good. Bonsai in chat is saying, isn't core the name of a race? Yes, I think it's one of those situations where it's like, there are core who are people from core. It's one of those things. That's my understanding. With the core wizard, or not the core wizard, the wizard we just saw, I'm not 100% if we assume that core are the people from core, and that was not core, that was a human wizard, then is the order they're referring to not the order that they work for as a courier? I no longer follow my own headcanon. Let's move on. Wall of Stars is a 2-mana blue enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has flying. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a colorless mana crystal counter on Wall of Stars. If you do, you lose 2 life. Well, So, I mean, Wall of Stars is a great name for a card. Let's start there. If this is so at bare minimum, this is a 2-mana enchantment that gives something flying. That's like kind of fine. I don't know what the going rate for giving something flying with an enchantment is, but I'd play this, especially unlimited at least. Flying is really powerful, and being able to just do it, great. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may, so you could just choose not to, put a colorless mana crystal counter on Wall of Stars. If you do, you lose 2 life. So I think this is just a card that's being silly, right? Like, it's like, you could do this thing. If you choose to do this thing, it hurts you and there's no reason to do it. But let's use this as a jumping off point from a design standpoint, right? From a custom work. Colorless mana crystal counter. In Magic, counters are just like a blank counter, and all they do are be referred to by other cards, right? So they don't do anything inherently unless they are predefined counters. Predefined counters being things like keyword counters that give the keyword that they have, shield counters, which protect them from damage one time or being destroyed, and other things like infect and stuff, which wouldn't go on a creature, they'd go on a player or whatever. I guess those are poison counters. Whatever, you get my point. So unless a counter is predefined, it doesn't do anything without a card referring to it. So this card, it gives a colorless mana crystal counter. It's not a predefined counter, and there's no text that makes it do anything. But theoretically, you could create a predefined counter called a mana crystal counter. That means something. And that's kind of a cool idea. The idea of a mana crystal counter, which maybe means, a creature with a mana crystal counter can be tapped to produce 1 of the color of the mana crystal counter on it, or something, right? Probably having multiple of them wouldn't allow you to get double the mana for 1 tap, but, I could imagine a cycle printed in a set that says, yep, mana crystal counters are a thing. Any creature with a mana crystal counter on it can have the ability tap, produce 1 mana of any color of mana crystal counters on this creature, right? And yeah, cool. Bonsai in chat saying, or you may remove the counter to add that mana. That's actually really cool. Then you could stack up this mana, and then maybe do something really explosive thing on a future turn. That's a really cool idea. Or you could do something that's sort of more like treasure, like maybe you can tap and sacrifice this creature to get a mana per counter on it. Like, there's a lot of things you could do if you were doing custom work and you were creating a predefined token. You were adding rules to the game of Magic. For our purposes of AI magic, we're not doing that, so we're limited in what we can do. But it's something to think about, because as much as this card just sounds stupid right now, it has a lot of really interesting design potential, and I think it's always good to look at these cards as case studies to extrapolate from. That is what AI is the best at. It's, to me, in my opinion, not actually making end results by giving you something to springboard off of. For our purposes, I think I might just re-roll this one. It's not actually bad. Like, I think a 2-mana enchant something, make it a flying is actually fine. It's just not exciting. And, I mean, I know I just previously was talking about a card that's not exciting and still is, like, worth having in the set. But whatever. Has it been 3 hours already? Dang, that's not good. I should probably leave. We can finish this, though. Let's push on through. Veiled Threat is a 2-mana enchantment aura, enchanted creature gets -3/-3. Yeah, okay. I like this. Yeah. I mean, it's better than 2-mana, like, target creature, like, deal 3 damage to target creature, but it's sorcery. Cool. Yeah, I like it. Sorcery speed, I mean, obviously it's an enchantment. Do not think that the hideous landscape can keep us all in line. They can look on and laugh. You will hear their guffaws long before you find yourself strapped to the dais and fed to a feasting beast. Odo, Defiant Samurai. Cool. Light of Promise. 4-mana, blue, instant, untap target creature you control. It gets +3/+3 until end of turn. Draw a card. If you just looked at the first half of the card and say, hey, untap target creature you control, it gets +3/+3, I don't know what the going rate for that is. 4 sounds too expensive to me. Adding draw a card on the end, though, yeah, I think that's probably worth it, right? Just being able to continue to draw cards is really good, especially since we have seen payoffs for Spellslinger decks, right? Decks that say, I want to cast a spell, put it in the graveyard, and then draw a new spell so I can keep going. It's just really efficient. So, I think it sounds good. Your words are important. Take comfort in their resonance. Ikagumo. Sky Priest. Cool. Plague Arsonist. That's a really funny name. I like that. Plague Arsonist is a 2-mana blue instant. Plague Arsonist deals 1 damage to any target. Draw a card. I mean, yeah, you know? What was the other card that we saw that was like a very cheap, just draw a new card effect? I think it was like a +1/+1. Yeah, so we saw the +1/+1 draw a card. We saw the +3/+3 draw a card. Now we're seeing deal 1 damage, draw a card. Again, it's just, it all plays into the same archetype. Maybe it's a bit too much of the same thing, but it's what you want in that. I think that's perfectly reasonable. For in the warren of Yawgmoth, a new devil burns brightly. Baron to Emrakul. Sir Natu, Enlightened Master, is a 7-mana, 5/5, legendary, without the space, creature, human wizard. At the beginning of each end step, if you gained life this turn, draw a card. For blue and sacrifice an enchantment, draw 2 cards. This card is awesome. I really wish it didn't say legendary creature. Really kicking myself for that mistake. That was a weird pronunciation of mistake. Anyway, but it's a really cool card. 7 mana is a lot to get in line, but it's going to really help you refill. It's a payoff for all that life gain that we've seen. And, I mean, it's cool having a way of turning old enchantments you don't need anymore into card draw. And 2 cards is a lot. Like, that's a really cool card. I like it a lot. I just feel so stupid for having that mistake of the legendary creature. When we cannot stop them, we can but keep them in check. That card's cool. That card's really cool. Corrupt Officer is a 1-mana, 1/1 human soldier. Corrupt Officer gets +1/+0 as long as you control an artifact. This card's boring. I don't think it's enough of a payoff for it to really matter again. I think you could probably print a 1-mana 2/1 and no one would bat an eye. Yeah, nah. The fault is never in the task, but in the way the task is performed. Yeah, I'm gonna reroll that one. The idea of Corrupt Officer is like cool design, like flavory thing. Burrington Bloodseeker. Did we just see Burrington since another card? Is that? I'm sure it isn't, but I have to go check. Baron to Emrakul. Yeah. It's not Burrington. Okay. Moving right along. Where were we? Burrington Bloodseeker is a 1-mana 1/1 Goblin Knight. I do like a Goblin Knight. I just always think that's fun. When Burrington Bloodseeker enters the battlefield, return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. Oh! Hey, it's unsummoned. But with a 1/1 body and its sorcery speed. Nice. I think that's great. He knew that no soldier in a million years could defeat Kor. That was his goal. And the power that fueled his body and gave him the will to complete it. Did we keep that white goblin earlier? Because so far we've seen 2 whole goblins. A white goblin and a blue goblin. I mean, we aren't in goblin colors. It's not surprising we haven't seen many goblins, but it is funny. Huh. No, I think that card's good. Right? It's a cool little unsummon effect, and you get a 1/1 body to boot. Nice. Downside is it's not instant. Radiant Fate is a 4-mana blue sorcery. Draw 2 cards. If you have fewer than 5 cards in hand, Radiant Fate deals damage to target creature equal to the number of cards in your hand. I love this. This is so cool. What the heck? What a weird card. This is such an interesting design. Okay, so bare minimum, 4 mana, draw 2. Not great, not terrible. You might play that. But if you have, I guess, 3 cards in hand, you'd cast this, going down to 2 cards in hand, draw 2 more, you'd be at 4 cards in hand, and then that is fewer than 5, and then you will deal 4 damage to target creature. That's I like this. I like this card a lot. It's really, really clean. It's like maybe too strong, but also like often you're not gonna have the numbers work out correctly. Like that's a very like you'd have to have 3 or less cards for it to be burn. It's not even burn. It hits creatures only, so it's creature removal. You have to have a creature that will die. If it hits like a 5/5, it doesn't matter. I like this card a lot. It's a really fun card. Radiant Fate. In this incarnation, we seek out truth in everything. Becca of the Red Shadows. I do like... Becca of the Red Shadows seems cool. That seems real... Yeah. That's really cool. Okay. That brings us to the end of blue. One of the benefits of having all these cards pre-rolled is that I can actually see the next card. I'm not reading it yet, but I can see that it's black, so I don't even have to do that thing where I roll the card and go, oh, it's black, oops. I know we're here, and that's it for today. Yeah, hope everyone enjoys. This is Lords of the Rime, Soldiers of Kor and Dragons. The second set in our Gods of Winter block. Very excited to bring this block to everybody. I'm hoping I can get through the entire thing in like a week. I don't think that's gonna happen. But I do want to make sure that it's like out before Christmas and stuff, because I am not gonna probably be able to stream during the last 2 weeks of December. It's just not gonna happen probably. So, woo! I've been DarcyBits. This has been Urza's AI doing all this stuff, things. You understand. You know how this all works, I hope. If you don't, check out my other videos. Also, you know, if you like this stuff, please subscribe. It's not something I talk about it much because I don't like ragging on it. And I also don't think I have like such a professional production value that it feels like quote unquote worth it. But legitimately, I would appreciate it. And it's the only way that the channel will grow. And I would like the channel to grow. I've really been enjoying all this. I'm rambling now. Have a good night, everyone. I'll catch you next time.